All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. We're going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully a few more people will join us as we go. Thank you for joining us this evening for our virtual community open house for the Living Lenoir 2045 Comprehensive Plan. So just a little bit of housekeeping. So I'm Danny Wilson. I'm with Freeze and Nichols. We've been hired by the city to help work on this project. And with us this evening also, we have Alexis Garcia with Freeze and Nichols, and then Hannah Williams with Lenoir is on as well. Um, Please turn off your video. You're welcome to turn on your video. You have that ability, but please turn off your video if you're doing anything distracting or moving around, just to make sure everyone can pay attention. And we do have the Q&A feature in Teams. You can see it at the top of your Teams screen. It has a little bubble with a question mark in it that will have some input opportunities and time for thoughts during the presentation. So please use that. You'll see a couple of question prompts in there already. And of course, please visit the project website at lenoir2045.com. And we, again, appreciate you joining us this evening. We have a short presentation and, again, several questions that we'd love your thoughts on and input during this presentation this evening. So we're going to go through a quick project overview and update as far as where we are so far and what community input we've received to date. We're also going to go through draft vision and guiding principles. These are some things we'd love your feedback on, as well as future land use. We'd also love your feedback on that as well. And then give you a brief overview of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan that has been started, and then go over next steps with the project as well. I will say this presentation is being recorded and will be posted to the project website, so anyone can look at this later during the project as we go along. So real quick project overview and update. Overall, why are we doing this project to begin with? So a comprehensive plan helps define an overall community vision and long-term goals for the community. It also helps establish a future land use map that guides future development and rezoning requests that come before City Council. The comprehensive plan helps identify potential capital projects and also prioritize policy decisions and other short-term actions. It provides an opportunity for community engagement as we move through this process. And we're also looking at neighborhood level planning. So we're engaging residents at the neighborhood level for this particular project. And then also creating a template for future engagement and what that may look like for the city moving forward. So the current comprehensive plan that is with the city was adopted in 2007. So a lot has changed in the past 17 years. Really, best practice is to review the comprehensive plan every 5 years and update every 10 years. The state does require that if you have zoning, you must have a comprehensive plan. So that's one requirement in North Carolina. And also really, because the comprehensive plan is a roadmap and guide for the community, it is really just best to make sure all the elements are updated and kept current. And it captures really what the city wants to do moving forward. And that helps support grant applications and other funding requests from the city. So we are right now in the middle of plan development on our schedule here. We do have public engagement that started at the very beginning and will run all the way through the end of the project. And we have completed the background analysis that was done over the summer, and then starting plan development at the end of summer, running all the way through the winter and into the spring. And then we have the implementation plan towards the end of the project in the summer of 25. And then we'll plan to have this in front of City Council in August of 2025. So far, we've had several community engagement events. We had a community open house on June 26th. We also had 2 neighborhood workshops the day before on June 25th, one with West End and one with Whitnall. We were at the Blackberry Festival in July, had an online survey that ran during the summer and closed September 12th. We're also at Woodfire Smoke in October. And then we just had another set of neighborhood workshops and community open houses November 6th and 7th. So as I mentioned, we've begun the future land use assessment and the future land use map part of the process. and we're drafting the vision and guiding principles. Those are the two elements we want to check in with you this evening on. And we've also kicked off the Parks and Recreation Master Planning portion of the project. So far, just very high level what we've heard from the community from engagement to date. So we've asked, where is the city doing well? And the top 5 responses we received are fire service, police service, water, sewer, and trash collection, creating more opportunities for walking and biking, and street maintenance. In particular, the 5 areas that need some more attention from the city include attracting new businesses, downtown revitalization, providing adequate housing options for all, planning for the future, and parks and recreation. So we also asked about what types of new housing people would like to see in the city. And you can see on your screen, really, there's a desire for every type of housing. So single family homes, housing mixture types, mixed use. So that's residential on top of commercial, housing for older adults, as well as townhomes. And a lot of desires to see new commercial businesses from restaurants and outdoor recreation, indoor recreation, small retail, as well as large retail. And then we talked to folks about beautifying the city and what actions could be taken to help with city beautification. And building repair and demolition was the first priority we heard, and then property maintenance, enforcement, landscaping, some new street trees, and public art. Follow up with that. So we also asked questions about the vision for Lenoir, and you can see some of the responses: making downtown more attractive, affordable housing, inclusive recreational areas, greenways that are better connected, staying true to the historic roots for the community, improving walkability, supporting local businesses, and then renovating vacant buildings for mixed use as well. So you can see biggest priorities that came out from engagement thus far: supporting small businesses, enhancing downtown, affordable housing, public transportation, and more community spaces. As I mentioned, we have been meeting with West End neighborhood and Whitnall neighborhood. So you can see in the bottom right slide, the vision for those 2 neighborhoods. For West End, really having more commercial properties, having less dilapidated homes, having more new homes, beautification overall, and then greenways and connections to the greenways. For Whitnall, really bringing Whitnall back to life, having more events in that neighborhood, not having the neighborhood act as just a pass-through for Lenoir and have it be more of a destination, cleaning it up and making it nice again, and then having more opportunities for entertainment for children and older population. So when we're looking at the vision and guiding principles, the vision is the overall idea for the comprehensive plan, and then has guiding principles that help implement the vision, and then individual policies, actions, and projects that support each guiding principle. So it's almost like it's a multi-layer process. So this evening, we're going to look at the overall vision and then the guiding principles that are beneath that vision. And this is the first area where we'd love your input this evening. If you have the ability to type into the Q&A, we encourage that. You can also provide feedback on the project website. And again, that's lenoir2045.com. But as we walk through the draft vision and guiding principles, we ask that you think about the following. Do you think the draft vision accurately describes the vision for Lenoir? And this is also, remember, looking the next 20 years. So over the next 20 years, does this vision describe how you think Lenoir should be moving forward and how you see Lenoir in the future? Would you make any additional changes to that vision or the guiding principles? Is there anything that needs to be added as a guiding principle? And do you think the guiding principles that we have identified help achieve the vision that is identified for this? So again, if you could please put your thoughts in the Q&A. So the draft vision right now is: our city is a vibrant, inclusive community where residents take pride in Lenoir's historic past and actively contribute to a thriving, family-friendly environment. We celebrate our artisan roots, fostering creativity and craftsmanship that enrich our cultural fabric. Our neighborhoods are dynamic and flourishing, offering safe and welcoming spaces for all. We embrace the natural beauty that surrounds us, integrating green spaces and sustainable practices into our urban landscape. As we grow and innovate, we remain committed to diversifying our economic base, ensuring resilience and prosperity for future generations. Together, we build a city that honors its past, cherishes its present, and confidently strides into the future. I'll give people a few moments to read this and think about it and provide some thoughts in the Q&A. And just as a reminder, we will be posting this, and there is a comment section on the website, so definitely feel free after this meeting to review this and provide comments on it as well. And then the guiding principles that are intended to support the vision include build and promote community pride, enhance livability, expand housing options, support commercial opportunities, and improve mobility and connectivity. Again, any thoughts you have on these are welcome as well. So just a reminder, if the draft vision accurately describes the vision for Lenoir, in your opinion, for the next 20 years, would you make any additional changes to the vision or guiding principles? Is there anything else that needs to be added as a guiding principle? And do you think the guiding principles help achieve the plan's vision? We'll move into draft future land use map. You can definitely keep putting any comments in the Q&A function or adding anything to the website as we go along. So when we're looking at the future land use map, the first thing we do is ask some questions about what is future land use. So future land use looks at the future and how property may be used to achieve the vision of the comprehensive plan and of the community. So some of the things we look at are what are the appropriate land uses for undeveloped areas? Are there any current land uses that should change in any specific parts of the community? Are there any properties or areas where redevelopment is a high potential? And are there any special areas or boundaries or properties that we need to pay attention to? So some land uses, like a residential neighborhood or a public building, are probably not going to change in the future. So we really look at those as being relatively stable and static and not really appropriate or ready for change in the future. And also just a reminder, land uses are very general. The designations are very general. A lot of related and accessory uses also fit in with the overall use. We make sure we look at floodplains and environmental areas, and those are more suitable to be open space than development. And then also thinking about the transportation network and mobility, not only for cars, but also greenways and bicycle and pedestrian, and how those relate to the land uses as we're looking at the designations for those. So land uses really are also on a spectrum. So a low intensity land use would be a parks and open space. And then you move up the scale for residential, low, medium, and high, and then to the office and retail and commercial. And then at the very top of the high scale is your industrial land use categories. You'll see these on the map. They're different colors representing different land use categories. This is the second portion of this evening where we would love your input. And as we're looking at the future land use map and land use categories, If you could please think about the following and then provide any thoughts again in the Q&A section or on the project website. Do you agree with proposed land use categories? We had proposed to separate parks and open space as a new category and also downtown as a new category. Do you agree with that? Do you have any questions or concerns about the land use map? We also have a slide on commercial corridors and looking at those in particular. So any thoughts or concerns or questions about that as well? Are there any changes you see or anything you see on the maps you don't agree with? And then are there any additional changes you would make to those maps or the land use categories? And again, just as a reminder, and especially for those that just joined us, we will be recording this and posting this on the website. And there is a comment section on the website. You're welcome to provide comments on this and answer these questions either this evening or later on as the project moves forward as well. So we have drafted 12 potential future land use categories, added some land uses for housing that include missing middle housing as well as higher density housing. As I mentioned, added a downtown land use category and a parks and open space land use category. We also split the industrial land use into two different land uses called heavy industrial and light industrial. And then each land use category is assigned a density, intensity, and scale. So really how many units per acre, how much of the property is anticipated to be developed, how tall are the buildings anticipated to be, is what that looks at. And then also the plan itself, we anticipate having, they're called dashboards to really help make the plan usable, easy to read, and assist with zoning decisions as those come through with city staff, the planning board, and the city council. So our draft land use categories, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the existing land use categories that are in place today. The right-hand side are the proposed land use categories. So as I mentioned, kept the rural residential and then split residential into several different categories: low density, medium density, high density residential categories. Added a downtown category. Have a neighborhood mixed use category. This is designed for smaller scale mixed use developments and neighborhoods, maybe a corner store or a corner store with an apartment above. Have general mixed use. These are larger mixed use developments that have commercial and residential mixed together. Corridor commercial. These are the heavier commercial, regional commercial, think large box stores, grocery stores, large retail strip centers that would fit into this category. Light industrial, which is primary jobs, but not really disruptive industries. So corporate headquarters, data centers, those things would fit in the light industrial category. The heavy industrial would be your traditional manufacturing, furniture manufacturing, things with a lot of truck traffic, a lot of storage of materials, may have more noise and light and activity overall. Have a public institutional land use category. Really, this is just publicly owned property, either the county or city or state. And then parks and open space would be a new category. And those are really city-owned parks. So our first question, do you agree with proposed land use categories? And does it make sense to you to separate parks and open space and downtown as their own categories? And then do you have any other comments on those categories I just outlined? I'll just wait here for a little bit while people can provide their thoughts.
Danny, we do have one comment that came in. Hannah shared her thoughts that she really likes that we added parks and open space as a land use category so that we can reserve space for recreation and other appropriate uses. And there are no other comments at this time.
I'll go ahead and keep going, but again, feel free to post thoughts in the Q&A section anytime during the presentation, or on the website after. So looking at the future land use map, the future land use categories I just went over, you'll see them on this map as different colors. So really, as you can see the downtown area, and the zoom in on the left, the downtown area is kind of the dark brown, ox blood, red, there, and then the commercial corridors, you can see the red, and the mixed use is the bright pink. Um, Lining, the main commercial or the main thoroughfares and roads throughout town where a lot of commercial development exists today. The darker blue being the heavy industrial, that a lot of that is already industrial today. And you can see the light green being rural residential. Most of that is outside of the city limits and the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city. And then the light yellow being low density residential, the orange being medium density residential. So just to orient you around the map some, definitely take a look at this, please, and give us your thoughts. I know this is a lot of information on a small map, so may warrant coming back and looking at this on the website. We also have this posted on the website, for you to take a look at and provide any comments through that channel as well. So zooming in on some of the commercial corridors in particular, we're looking at really 321 and then 64 and 18, that run through the city, kind of northwest. I'm sorry, north, south, east, west. So what we're calling the north corridor is really 321, north of 64. So as it heads up into Boone, and looking at the character of this particular corridor, really being a focus of employment center. It is also key for traffic, that's tourism related and people going up into the mountains. There's a great opportunity for a gateway at the northern city limits along this corridor, as well as opportunities for various infill and redevelopment on properties that line this part of the road. The southern corridor or south corridor, along 321 south of US 64. And this is really the gateway coming into the city from the south. So great opportunity for a gateway on this corridor. Also opportunities for new commercial and retail development. There's some key redevelopment opportunities right as you come into the city from the south. And there's also some significant green space along this corridor, and in particular, the golf course that separates really the south corridor from 64, and is another key corridor for traffic related to tourism and driving through up into the mountains. The east-west corridor is really North Carolina 18 and US 64, and that runs really more for commuter traffic and to adjacent communities. Some focus on industrial development, especially on the western section of the corridor, and then really a lot of focus on smaller scale, highway oriented, but more local businesses along the eastern portion of the corridor. And then again, opportunities for infill and redevelopment on various properties along this stretch of roadway. And again, your thoughts on these general categories and classifications and thoughts for these sections of road are welcome in the Q&A portion or again on the website.
Danny, we have one question in the chat. Can you describe the difference between the commercial corridor and the mixed use in the land use categories?
Sure. So mixed use is really appropriate for both commercial activities and residential use. A lot of times it is incorporated on the same property. It may be incorporated in the same development. It may be incorporated in the same building. But the commercial corridor is more your large scale retail. So think Walmart for the commercial corridor. You generally do not have a Walmart with apartments above. So that would be something that would be more appropriate in a commercial corridor. Same with the grocery store. Those, need large spaces, but generally do not want to mix with the residential development, at least in the same building. So we recognize there's a need to have the larger scale retail, especially as Lenoir is a regional retail center, right? And people from outside of the community come into the city to shop. So I want to make sure we maintain that and continue to support those efforts while also having mixed use opportunities to allow residential development to take place in and around commercial activities so that people have opportunities to walk to commercial businesses and also have a place for some higher density residential to take place to have different housing options in the community. So again, any questions or concerns about the land use map or commercial corridors that we just talked about? Any proposed changes or thoughts or classifications that you don't agree with? And any additional changes that you would make? I'll keep moving forward, but again, please feel free to add your thoughts as we go along. So just a brief update on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So we are working with the city on updating the Parks and Recreation Master Plan at the same time as a comprehensive plan. So the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is pretty similar to a comprehensive plan, but obviously it focuses specifically on Parks and Recreation. It is usually a 10-year plan with 5-year updates or updates every 5 years. Again, it establishes a community vision and helps guide decisions and has an action plan that are, again, specific to Parks and Recreation. So the Planning Department, Public Works Department, Parks and Recreation Department are working with us to develop an update to the master plan. We're also doing community engagement and outreach with residents to identify any issues and suggested improvements for the park system. We have the Recreation Advisory Committee acting as a sounding board for this project as well. And then city staff will work with the community to implement the plan and help identify projects with city council after the plan is adopted. Again, part of the reasoning to have a Parks and Recreation master plan is to help make sure we're building consensus from the community and talking with the community about desires and needs and thoughts for the Parks and Recreation system. It also identifies current and future priorities and looks at future growth and future population and has a plan for how to accommodate that. And then really after adoption, this master plan provides a good roadmap for the city for planning and budgeting purposes for how to invest in the Parks and Recreation system. So this is a map of all the public parks in Lenoir. We are working on the parks inventory right now, and we'll be doing the parks assessment here coming up. And then again, have a robust recommendations and implementation section for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan to ensure it is a usable and functional roadmap for the city to determine projects moving forward and identify funding and grant applications as well for this piece. We do have a Parks and Recreation survey that is live on the Lenoir2045.com website. So I do know we had a comprehensive plan survey prior, as I mentioned, over the summer. So this is a new survey, so I would really encourage you all to go and take the survey as well. And please make sure you pass it around and get as many people as you can to take the survey. We want your input. We need your input on what you would like to see with Parks and Recreation in the city. This includes programming activities as well. So definitely please take the survey. We would love to have some youth in the community take the survey as well and provide some input on what they would like to see from the Parks and Recreation system. So the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is incorporated in the Lenoir2045.com project website. So there's information on that as well on the website. We have one in-person community event, meeting with the Recreation Advisory Board a couple of times. The city staff is also doing engagement activities and events. You may see some information at some of the recreation facilities to provide feedback. We're also in front of planning board, and then city council is part of this project as well. And with that, are there any questions or anything anyone would like to post in the Q&A for us to discuss or answer this evening? If not, we have some next steps and a little wrap up.
Danny, I do not see any additional questions, but there is a comment from Hannah about one of the properties for the Broyle Hill Estates is a historic property and is currently identified as mixed use. So maybe that's an edit that we need to make on the map to change the designation of that property.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks for that feedback. Now to run through next steps. And again, we have time for questions at the end. If anyone has any, we're happy to chat more. So again, we do have a project website. I'm going to keep mentioning it because we really want you to stay involved and want your input. All of our meeting summaries and engagement event summaries get posted to the website. The draft plan materials get posted to the website. We have information on the website. The surveys are all on there. We also have the open comment feedback question on the website. So we definitely want people to be involved. This is your plan. We want to hear from you. We need your input to make sure that this plan is based in what the community would like to see, and really hope that you encourage others to participate as well. So moving forward, we're going to collect all the feedback we get about the vision and guiding principles, as well as the future land use categories and map, and incorporate that into the draft plan. Again, please take the online Parks and Recreation survey. It does not take long, and your input is very much so needed. We'll continue working on drafting the future land use chapter, and then also all future engagement events will be announced coming up in a little bit, so please stay tuned. I know the city pushes those out via social media. It's also on the city's website, and then on the project website, we do have a calendar of events and have those identified when they get scheduled. So thank you for joining us tonight. That's all we have, but we'll stay on for a little bit. If anyone has any other thoughts or questions you'd like to post to the Q&A, we'll be happy to answer those this evening. Feel free to scan the QR code on the screen or go to Lenoir2045.com to participate. Thanks again.
Danny, we do have one new question in the chat. Are there any plans for recreation areas in downtown Lenoir? And this may also be a question for Hannah.
Yes, Hannah, do you want to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
In 2023, and earlier this year, the City Council adopted the Downtown Master Plan, which kind of just focused on the downtown area of Lenoir, and there were some recreation ideas floated in that plan. One is working on the campus, the old high school property, the Lenoir High School, and making improvements to the soccer field, turning that into a flexible space that could also have other event programming besides soccer. There's also, that plan also called for making improvements to the high school gym and making improvements to the auditorium. And both the gym and the auditorium are there's some capital projects underway currently to improve those spaces. There's also kind of across the street on Harper, across the street from the old band building of the high school campus, there is a space that the city hopes to turn into a farmers market area, and that will include some other kinds of passive green space with a farmers market pavilion that could also host some other kinds of event programming. And then there would also be more robust pedestrian connections to the Overmountain Victory Trail Greenway that's passing through downtown. That part is those pedestrian connections are not quite underway yet because there's just some, property negotiation that needs to go on there. And then I know that plan also called for some changes to the square area and also making a better connection from downtown, the east side of downtown towards the J.E. Broyhill Ridge Street Park area. So there have already been some plans floated for increasing recreation in downtown Lenoir. And we want the Parks and Recreation Plan chapter part of this effort to also reflect that. Hope that's a good answer for you. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact me.
Thanks, Hannah. And we did have one more comment come through saying that they feel like a playground in downtown could attract a lot more people, and that could really help with the downtown businesses. So thank you for your comment, and that's really good input for us to use in the plan.
Again, thanks everyone. If we don't get any other comments, that is all we had for you this evening. You're welcome to hang on and see if anyone has any other questions, or go ahead and hop off. And again, this will be posted online. You're welcome to come back and look at this anytime. And we really appreciate you joining us this evening.